Welcome to Beyond the Bleachers with Grace McQuaid, your all-access pass to the world of college football and college basketball. From game day rivalries and bracket busters to behind-the-scenes stories that go deeper than the final score, we are breaking it all down. So grab your seat because the action doesn't stop when the clock hits zero. This is Beyond the Bleachers. Welcome everybody to another episode of Beyond the Bleachers with your host Grace McQuaid. Today we're going to be discussing some breaking news to start off this week as well as some instant game reactions. We're going to start off hot with the firing of Sam Pittman, Arkansas head coach. This is a much needed firing as Arkansas has been off to a very rough season, and this game against the Fighting Irish sum it up as they lose by a score of 56-13. Just completely getting handled by Jeremiah Love and Jadarian Price, that two-headed monster at running back. The defense of Arkansas just looked horrible. The Razorbacks could get nothing going. And Notre Dame really took advantage of it as I expected. All right, we're going to get right into our reactions to these games. We're going to start off with the Friday game that I hadn't predicted, Florida State versus Virginia. This was crazy game. We're talking Castellanos could not do anything to end that game. He threw 2 interceptions in his worst game this season by a mile. Virginia really figured it out on the defensive end towards the end of the game. I know they allowed 38 points, but to force that pass game to just not get anything going in OT was very impressive to see, as Chandler Morris, the North Texas transfer, found a way to itch it out in a very tough game. He threw two touchdowns but 3 interceptions, but it didn't matter as he was the tougher quarterback in this game. Tougher than Castellanos to just itch this game out. He really showed true toughness throughout the game, and I was very impressed with Virginia, especially their defense to close the game, as well as running back Jamari Taylor. He played a great game as well with 100 yards rushing. I know he was only averaging around 4 yards a carry, but still a good game from them, as that's what they needed to win this game. Florida State had more offensive yards, but clearly in the end of the game, Virginia just proved that they're the team that wanted it more, definitely. They really proved it as they win the OT. But still a great game. I have to give it to Deuce Robinson, the wide receiver from Florida State, with 9 catches, 150 yards, and a touchdown. He really had a great part in this game, but clearly, I'll say it again, it wasn't enough, as Virginia just found a way in the end. All right, we're going to move on to the other Friday game. This one I picked. This was my first out of my 2 missed picks out of my 9 picks this weekend, as Arizona State defeated TCU 27-24. I had TCU in this game 41-31, and I'll tell you what, that D-line for Arizona State looked great towards the end of the game. TCU, Hoover had nothing to. He threw 2 interceptions, but I can't even blame him. He had no time to throw, guys. It was really rough for him to just find any open receivers, as well as the run game just seems so absent for TCU with their missing of their starting running back, Kavorian Barnes, who had a great start to the season against North Carolina, but his season's been cut. He'll be back soon, but still, his season's been cut in half for the most part, as TCU's really missing him. As well as Jordan Dwyer, the TCU star receiver, they just couldn't get him going. The transfer from Idaho just seemed like nothing was there for him. And as well, Eric McAllister, 254 yards and 3 touchdowns last week against SMU. He just couldn't find any room for him to get some catches. It was a really rough game for him, and he got injured. After around 10 plays, I think he had 10 snaps. So that was really just a loss for TCU, and I feel like they would have much more of a chance to win if they had him. But on the Arizona State side, boy, did Jordan Tyson look good. 8 catches, 130 yards, and 2 touchdowns. He was insane. This is the type of performance I need from a fantasy player. But sadly, college fantasy isn't really a thing. But anyways, Sam Leavitt, he looked great. I went this year thinking this guy's a Heisman candidate, and he hadn't been playing like a Heisman candidate this year, but he went into that game and he proved he's a Heisman candidate. As he threw for 2 touchdowns and ran for 156 yards rushing. But there wasn't really much running game at all for Arizona State, as the TCU D-line was pretty good, but it clearly didn't matter in this game, as the Arizona State offense just overtook the Horned Frogs in this game to end it. All right, we're going to move on to the first Saturday game I had, Illinois USC. I predicted a USC 42-35 win, and I was completely wrong. So the first two games, I had a rough start to my weekend, but I rebounded, and I had a pretty good weekend overall for my picks, but definitely a rough start. In this game, Jaden Maeva looked great again, the USC quarterback, as he threw for 360 yards, as well as Makai Lemon with 151 yards receiving and 2 touchdowns. He had a great game as well. So the USC offense just couldn't be stopped, but it really just didn't matter, as once again, known for this every year, USC just not being able to have a stop on defense to win the game. And that ultimately lost them the game, as the senior Luke Almeida just proved a lot in this game as he trotted down that field for the game-winning field goal, as he threw for 330 yards and 2 touchdowns, as well as running for 30 yards and a rushing touchdown. So Illinois proved a lot in this game. I know they had a really rough game against Indiana, but please, I don't want anybody counting this team out. I still think they're a good team, and I still believe in them, to be totally honest with you. All right, we're going to move on to my LSU versus Ole Miss pick. I got this pick right. I picked Ole Miss 24-20, and I was just on point. 24-19, Ole Miss won. And I just didn't see it from the LSU offense, as I've been preaching for a while now. As last episode, I was pretty much going off on them and how they haven't proved anything this year. And I said that because that Clemson loss just keeps looking worse and worse, and it proved it there. I think that LSU versus Clemson game was just a battle of just the teams expect to be good that just aren't good. And it clearly showed that in this Ole Miss game. I know Ole Miss barely itched out the win, but LSU was ranked 9 spots ahead in this game in the AP poll. So Ole Miss proved a lot in this game, as their quarterback from Ferris State, Ferris State's an FCS school. They weren't expecting this guy to start, but clearly he's better than the other quarterback they have on the roster that they expected to start Austin Simmons, that I really expected to be a Heisman candidate. Let's compare numbers. I know Austin Simmons hasn't played as many games, but we're talking Trinidad Chambliss, 1,033 passing yards, 5 touchdowns, and 1 interception, to Austin Simmons' 580 passing yards, 4 touchdowns, and 4 interceptions. Chambliss winning this season, everybody's just like, okay, this guy's a backup, don't really care. But this guy won an FCS championship, so you can't really just count the guy out as a quarterback. But ultimately, they had Austin Simmons winning the quarterback battle, but that just didn't happen in this. It just didn't happen. As Chambliss has just proven that he's the better guy at quarterback. He ran for 71 rushing yards, as well as his 315 passing yards, and only 1 touchdown, but he had an interception. But still, just a really good performance from Ole Miss on the offensive and defensive side. And LSU, they don't have a running game right now. I don't see it. I really don't see it. We're talking LSU's 254 yards on offense to Ole Miss's, how many yards? Ole Miss is 480 yards. So, there was just a big offensive deficiency in this game, as Ole Miss just had a much better offense throughout the game, and ultimately led to their win, as well as a monster performance by Cam Franklin with 2 TFLs in this game. Transfer from Louisiana Tech, defensive back. He had 4 quarterback hits, which is really impressive as a DB. So great to see that. Ole Miss proved a lot in this game, and I'm very impressed with them, and they'll be moving up in my rankings for sure. All right, we're going to move on to the Tennessee-Mississippi State game. Tennessee won 41-34 in OT in this game, and I projected a 31-21 Tennessee win. Jose Aguilar, he had a very gritty performance. He threw 2 interceptions, but found a way to itch this one out. And that Tennessee run game also looked good, with the game-winning rush by Deshaun Bishop. Really clutch run to win the game for them. And, yeah, I know Aguilar had a rough game, but he found a way to itch it out for sure. And Chris Brazzo, once again, one of the best receivers in college football, proves it again with a great game here. Ultimately leading to 466 yards of offense to Mississippi State's 378, as well as 5 sacks from that Tennessee defense. Just an amazing game from them. 2 sacks from the D lineman, Tyree West, as he proved his skills in that game for sure. Blake Shapen on the other side of the field, Mississippi State. He had a decent game, nothing much. He couldn't really find his groove in this game, but the running game really helped out Mississippi State, but it didn't matter as Tennessee just found a way to pull it out in this one. All right, we're going to move on. We're 2-2 in picks right now. We're moving on to Ohio State at Washington. I had Ohio State winning this game 38-24, and boy was I wrong. Ohio State won, but they won 24-6. I thought this would be a lot more of a high-scoring game, but Ohio State really proved that they're the best defense in college football in this game, and I truly believe that, as they only let Washington have 230 yards of offense, which just shows a very impressive game, as well as Caden Curry, 5 TFLs and 3 sacks. He proved so much in this game. I looked at this Ohio State team, and I wasn't very confident in their D-line heading into the year, but boy, did they bring some confidence today. And Caden McDonald, the other D-lineman, with 2 sacks and 3 TFLs. They looked so impressive on defense. And this is definitely the number 1 defense in college football. As I take a sip of water, I'm going to let you ponder on my thoughts. All right. We're going to talk more about this game. All right. Bo Jackson, clearly the RB1 now, the starter for Ohio State at running back as a freshman, very impressive, as he had 17 carries compared to C.J. Donaldson's 9 carries and James Peoples' 3 carries. I talked about this last episode. I did not predict Bo Jackson to take the reins at starting running back, but he really did in this game, as he was clutch, and he just finds a way to keep his feet moving forward, not backwards, like the other running backs at Ohio State. Jeremiah Smith, he had 8 catches for 81 yards. I think he had 5 catches in the first drive of the second half, really just showing Ohio State's will, as they played a very conservative first half with Sayin, and I really think that Ohio State could have at least dropped 40 in this game if they really wanted to, because their offense is very dynamic, and they proved that to me. Still 1 red zone trip without a score, the first drive on offense for the Buckeyes, and I think Ohio State could have really blown these guys out, and I think they didn't play their best game, but their defense definitely played their best game and played up to their standards from last year, which was very impressive to see. All right, we're going to move on to the Bowling Green Ohio Bobcats game, as the Ohio Bobcats won this game 35-20. I predicted the Bobcats to win 38-24, another close one from my score prediction to their score prediction. I was right with this one again, which I was very happy about, because, hey, I know not many people care about these MAC matchups, but let's put some respect on these MAC teams, as I love the quarterback Preston Stone out of the Bobcats. He had a pretty good game with 210 yards, 2 touchdowns, and an interception. He as well ran for 66 yards and 2 rushing touchdowns, as that Parker Navarro has a very impressive offensive team for the Bobcats. And Drew Pine, once again, the transfer from Notre Dame, Arizona State, and Missouri, threw for 170 yards, but 3 interceptions. Well, that was just the ultimate difference in this game, as the Bobcats won. And a very good performance from D lineman Jay Crable with 3 sacks, which was just quite a performance from the defense as well, allowing one of the MAC's best teams to 20 points, which is really good to see. We're moving on to a game I did not predict, Georgia Tech at Wake Forest. Wake Forest ultimately went for 2 in OT to win the game, and it just great defense from Georgia Tech to just not let that happen. Haynes King, college football doesn't get more grittier than Haynes King. This guy, he has been so impressive through all these years. And he just finds a way every game, it feels like, to just win. He finds a way. He found a way against Clemson. Now he's finding a way against Wake Forest. Wake Forest was up big in this game. I forget how much it was, but they were up big to start the game. Here, I'm going to go back. Let's see how much they were up. They were up 17-3, 20-3 in this game, actually. I take that back. So, yeah. But I was watching this game in my head thinking Georgia Tech's going to find a way to pull this one out. I know Haynes King well enough, and I was right. Haynes King, 106 yards on the ground and 2 rushing touchdowns, along with 240 passing yards and a touchdown. I can't say it enough. This guy knows how to play, and he continues to prove that he can play. So yeah, enough on that game. We're gonna move on to Auburn at A&M. A&M ultimately won this game 16-10 at home, and this Le'Veon Moss just took over this game. Marcel Reed didn't pick apart the Auburn defense as I had hoped for. He played decent, but I expected a lot more of passing attack for him, as he's shown that throughout the season. But he still played a decent game, a gritty win, you know. He couldn't really run the ball in this game, but he found a way. Mario Craver was just locked up in this game, but Casey Conception took control. Mario Craver locked up, Casey Conception got the catches. He had 7 catches and 113 yards in this game. But I can't say it enough. Le'Veon Moss has been great this year, and he had 21 carries, 140 yards. That's 6.6 yards a carry and a rushing touchdown. He was the difference in this game. A&M had 414 yards of total offense. They were 3 for 14 on third down, which really killed them in this game. So this could have been a lot more of a win for them. And their defense, allowing an Auburn team to 177 yards, that proves you're a pretty legit team. And Keon Coleman to 18 yards. Cam Coleman, to 18 yards. He's one of the best wide receivers in college football. So that was just great to see. And Jackson Arnold to only 11 yards rushing as well. Also impressive. As ultimately, on defense, linebacker Torrin York took over this game, as he had 2 TFLs and a sack. So very impressive from him. Great to see. And he had well enough pass breakup. So great defensive showing from A&M here. And ultimately that won them the game. And all in all. So yeah, great performance from A&M to knock off Auburn. I think that's a very impressive win, as it just shows a lot of grittiness. Couldn't get Marcel Reed going like I was expecting, and they found a way to pull it out, which is always good to see. We're going to be moving on to Oregon, Penn State. This was, as I predicted, it was a very close game. I picked Oregon in this one, 31-27. It was 30-24. So I was also close with that one, ultimately making for a total of my picks to be 7-2 record to start the season, to start my podcast season, which I'm very proud with. Anyways, I was talking about it. You guys might disagree with me, but I backed it up. Oregon backed it up for me. James Franklin continues to not be able to win the big game. He can't do it. He won't ever be able to do it. But this is starting a new season for Penn State. This is starting a new beginning for Penn State. Are they going to be able to get over the hump? This year, doesn't look like they're going to be able to. As Oregon's run game, I had a question with them. They look good in this game. It was good to see. It opened up Dante Moore as he threw for 3 touchdowns in this game. Dante Moore, guys. I said Fernando Mendoza and Dante Moore. These guys are so impressive, and I don't know what to say anymore. As the Oregon receivers from last year were raving about Dante Moore. He has been amazing this year. Amazing. As he is first in many categories. Not first, but very high. He's 4th in passing touchdowns. And he's just been showing so much this year throughout the season. And I can't rave about him enough, as he picked apart this Penn State defense that everybody was expecting to be so good. For the most part, the run game was pretty much stopped pretty well for that Oregon stopped Penn State pretty well in the run game, allowing 4 yards a carry. And I said, I don't think they're going to be able to stop the run game. They were able to. They were definitely able to. I was wrong about that. They really impressed it to me. And Mateo Ugalele, like I said, he played a big part in this game with 2 TFLs and a pass breakup. He had a sack too. Very impressive game from him. And just the Oregon defense just really overcame Drew Aller in this game. And like I said, Penn State hasn't, I said this before this game, Penn State has not earned anything this year. And I just can't see. I couldn't see them win this game. They haven't earned anything. They haven't shown anything. I mean, I'm gonna go back to these games from a couple weeks ago. They only beat Florida International University 34-0. If you're an elite team, you're gonna win that game by at least 50. Yeah, I don't care if you're not bringing out your playbooks. I'm sure they weren't, as I expected, but still. Oregon only allowed 276 yards to Penn State in this game. So impressive. Drew Aller, I'm so unimpressed with him, guys. I said it last time. I'll say it again. He hasn't improved at all, in my opinion, throughout these years in the program. He just hasn't. I expected him to improve more. He hasn't. And I'm still waiting on it. This could be a turning point for Penn State's season. Maybe they'll turn on the switch. They haven't turned on before. I'm hoping they do, because this team brought back so many seniors. They used that Ohio State formula, bringing back all the players, and it just hasn't worked for them so far. They haven't played how we've all expected them to. As well as Trevor Pena, 2 catches for 16 yards in this game. I'm waiting. I am waiting on Penn State. I'm going to be continuing waiting on them. They're just not. They haven't been impressive at all this season. All right, moving on. The other pick I got right, my last pick of the day. 24-21, Alabama won. I picked Alabama to win 33-30. I was pretty close on this too. Ty Simpson, I told you last podcast. This guy, he's been impressive. The blocking was horrible for him against Florida State. I don't know why you guys were all getting down on him. It was horrible. I know Alabama didn't get a lot of running game going, as they only averaged 3 yards a carry, but it's still, having Jam Miller was just more of a distraction for Georgia, and they wanted to cover him more, and it opened up a lot more for Ty Simpson to just get going. Dream Bernard, 5 catches, 35 yards and a touchdown. He's good again. Isaiah Horton, 5 catches, 65 yards and a touchdown. Another good game from him. Ryan Williams, 5 catches, 43 yards. He had that drop, but the thing about good and great is a good player would go away from that drop and just be down on themselves for the rest of the game. They'd have no confidence. They would be mentally in the wrong place. But he wasn't. That catch that he had to just go on that game-sealing drive out on the out route, he really proved that he's a tough player. He's not just an athletic. He's not just tough and physically. He's tough mentally. And he got through that situation in a perfect way. At Georgia, I really felt bad for wide receiver Taylon Taylor. Fun fact, this guy, he grew up actually around me in Geneva. He was a 5-star receiver, committed to Georgia. He could have had the game-winning catch in this game, and he dropped it. I'm not going to lie, I feel bad for the kid because he grew up around me. It's pretty sad, honestly. But he dropped it, and he lost his team the game. I feel bad that he was even in that situation to win the game, because that is a heck of a lot of pressure for such a young freshman to handle. But I hope he doesn't get down on himself, because he's an athlete. He's a great player. Yeah, Gunnar Stockton couldn't get anything going. They really didn't even let him throw that much. But Chauncey Bowens had a great running game, averaging 10 yards a carry, 12 carries, 120 yards, and a touchdown. But there was just not much passing game here shown for the Bulldogs, as Bama's defense just shut them up. Bray Hubbard had a pass breakup and a forced fumble, which was really impressive, as once again, I said that he would be one of the X factors in this game, and he proved it to me as Caleb Downs' backup. This Caleb Downs, best safety in all of college football. This guy comes in and just has proved a lot. So good to see from Bama. But yeah, ultimately, Bama's defense just overcame Georgia's defense. As once I said last week, Georgia's defense has not impressed me, and I would think they would impress me, as they're known for having the best defenses. They allowed Austin Peay to 6 points. I know Austin Peay is an FCS school. I know 6 points isn't a lot, but I'm just going to throw us out there. Ohio State allowed Grambling to 0 points. That's just what I'm going to say. They allowed Tennessee to 41 points. Also, not not what I want to see out of a Georgia defense that's known for having a great defense. But yeah, ultimately Kirby Smart hasn't been able to get over the Alabama hump. We say this with Michigan and Ohio State. Ryan Day hasn't been able to get over the Michigan hump. Here, I'm gonna take a sip of water. So yeah, we've been saying Ohio State hasn't been able to get over the Michigan hump. It's been the same thing for Georgia and Kirby Smart. You would think, okay, Nick Saban leaving, greatest coach of all time. I'm just gonna assume that they're gonna be able to get over the hump. I mean, that's what I assumed, to be totally honest with you. But Kalen DeBoer, he's had some rough games, I will admit. But like I said, I trust him. I have trusted him, and I'm going to continue to trust him because I do think he is a great coach. And I thought he's proved that throughout his first seasons as the Bama coach as he's won some games against Georgia. So yeah, I said Kirby Smart is a legend of a coach, but he still hasn't been able to get over that Bama hump. And I'm still waiting on it. So yeah, that's everything I got for you guys today. I had a total of 7-2 on my game picks, which I'm excited about. I'll say it again. If you have any disagreements with me, anything you'd like to discuss, please just drop it down in the comment section. Great having you guys all here. Have a great night. I'm excited for the college football this weekend, and I'll have another podcast probably coming out around Thursday with our game previews and breaking news and my GMAC poll. So thank you for listening. Have a great night. Have a great day. And this is Beyond the Bleachers with your host, Grayson McQuaid. We are out.